This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you. Okay, so we have called it to order. We have a quorum. Proof of notice was sent out and is posted on the notice boards. We have 3 agenda items for today for the open meeting. The first agenda item is the appointment of a defect attorney. So the objective here is to appoint a defect attorney to represent the country club in its claim against the developer Lennar for the defects in the community. In addition, this attorney will also represent the country club's claim for financial amount due as calculated in the audited accounts for the turnover for August the 3rd, 2021. So as background, we have been working with the engineering company, W.J. Johnson, that was appointed to do an engineering study for us.
Give me 1 minute. I just need a few minutes.
Can you put your phones on mute, please, because we're getting background noise. Okay. So as I was saying, we've been working with the engineering company, W.J. Johnson. We've also been working with the auditors, Gertzel, Rosen and Goldenberg, our HOA attorney, Grotzel and Andrus, the facilities committee, the legal committee and the board itself have all been involved in pulling together the background and detail of the construction defects as well as the financial amounts due that we've calculated from the developer Lennar. With this information, our HOA attorney submitted on April the 26th the formal 558 notice to the developer detailing our claims. At that time, the HOA attorney then recommended that we should appoint a construction defect attorney to take this claim forward, as a construction defect attorney that obviously specialises in this branch of the law. As a result of which, we interviewed, and when I say we, it was the legal committee, the facilities chair, Peter, Pat, myself as board representatives, interviewed and spoke to 4 construction defect attorneys, all offering similar services, and these were recommended by both our HOA attorney and by First Services Residential as attorneys that we should contact. The first one wanted an hourly charge, so what we were trying to achieve is to work with a company that would work on a contingency basis. In other words, no win, no fee, rather than incur legal costs for the association to follow this claim. So the first one we spoke to, which was Angus and Terry, they wanted an hourly charge and wouldn't work on a contingency. Actually, they weren't the first one we spoke to, but in order of what I've recorded them. The second one was willing to interview with us, which we interviewed, but then after looking at the documents which we provided to them, which was the engineering study, the 558 notice, they decided that our claim wouldn't be substantial enough for them as a firm to follow up on this. But they did give us some very good guidance. The one I called and talked to directly, Persano, Barry, Bruce, Lavelle, said, come back to us once you've had a response from Lennar. So obviously they weren't at that stage prepared to talk to us, even though I gave them a lot of information about what we were trying to achieve. And then lastly, but not least, Becker and Polyakov came in, gave us a presentation. They were given a tour of the community and they provided us with a proposal and an agreement for them to represent the country club. So again, whilst Becker and Polyakov might seem to be the only viable choice, they were the most impressive from a presentation perspective. Their overall knowledge of our community and of the developer Lennar. They have an impressive success record and are currently representing Champions Club, that's the condos, in their claim against Lennar. The cost of the services for a contingency arrangement is twofold. There is the construction defect fees, which is Firstly, 20% of all monies recovered prior to litigation. Once the claim goes into litigation, it is then 30%. This is not cumulative. This would be then 30% of the recovered amount after the lawsuit is filed. If the lawsuit then goes to an appeal, there would be an additional 10% fee on that cost to Becker and Polyakov. As regards the turnover audit fees, so this is the monies we believe is due from Lennar to us as audited for August the 3rd, 2021. This will be a separate fee structure whereby they will charge 10% prior to going to litigation, and then they've capped the maximum amount they would charge us at 20% after litigation has commenced. These fees are what have also been quoted by other construction defect attorneys. In fact, we negotiated the 30% fee down from an original 35% charge, which they had put in their original agreement. So we've negotiated the agreement. We put a number of changes to that agreement following discussions with our HOA attorney. Becker and Polyakov accepted all of the changes and didn't push back on any of the requests that we had asked for changes. And so the recommendation is to appoint Becker and Polyakov as our construction defect attorney to take our claim against Lennar forward. So that is my recommendation, but I need somebody to make a motion for that.
Okay. Before we move forward, you do have a new caller 6.
Oh, gosh.
Unidentified.
Okay, caller 6, can you identify yourself, please? Hi, caller 6. You've joined recently. Okay, if they can't identify themselves, then we'll have to cut them off. Sorry?
Do you want me to excuse them?
Yeah.
Your phone is sick. Okay, fine.
Thank you. I second that. Thank you. Any questions?
I
No?
think the team did a great job with that, Neil. Thank you.
Just Neil, I
Yes.
think you might want to enlighten everybody that this is not going to be an overnight thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, in talking to the construction defect attorneys, we shouldn't have any expectations that this will be a quick process. Lennar has already responded to the 558 notice, basically rejecting every claim that we've made against them so far. So it is going to be a lengthy process. The construction defect attorneys all said, be prepared for a 2.5, 3 year process before this gets settled. So just bear that in mind as we go through this process. Okay, so all those in favour?
Aye.
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 That's unanimous.
Hi.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, Neil.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you so much. That was wonderful information. This is Maria Matos. I do have a question in terms of the attorneys or the construction company. Are they going to go to every villa to check what the construction defects are, or has that been already done?
No, part of the 558 notice to Lennar, which detailed all of the construction defects that we'd identified at that time. And by the way, we can add to that. It is a process, but if we find other defects, there is a process to add to that list. But as part of that, we also submitted a claim for the villa roofs and the defective construction of the villa roofs. So that is part of it for all 92 villas. So that is part of the claim.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Thank you so much.
But no
Okay.
other construction defects in terms of the villas. If there's other structural issues, they'll have to take it up themselves, correct, Neil?
Yeah, what we've submitted is a report on the construction defects for the roof. That's it. That's what we've submitted. Yeah. Okay, well, that was approved, so I will now pass it over to Peter to provide us with a review of their point of sale providers.
Okay, so I think I sent a document to Stephanie yesterday. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to read it yet, but maybe I'll go through it. I think it's worth taking some time over this because it's quite a big decision that we have to make in terms of replacing our POS. So just for people on the call, a quick summary. We currently have a POS system called EasyLinks. We have 2 installations of it, one here and one in the golf grill. One, the golf grill is used for point of sale on the golf grill and for golf purchases as well. These systems don't talk to each other, have 2 separate databases, so you could be on the database in the plaza, you might not be on the database down in the golf grill. It doesn't meet our needs as an HOA, so earlier this year the facilities committee were asked to lead a project to determine whether we should replace the EasyLink system with a new POS. We decided that we would investigate this, and we went out to 3 vendors and asked them to submit a proposal. All 3 vendors submitted a proposal and came and presented to a joint group of FSR and residents. The residents that were on the group were myself, Russ Oliver, Dan Moran, and Mark Shazinski, and then representing the board were Neil and Alan. After the first presentations, we scored based on our first interpretations of what they'd given us. And if you all look at the back of your pack, you'll see, I won't go through these, but you can see that the scoring is listed on the pack. And you're showing it's broken down by everyone and then a separate breakdown between residents and FSR, just to make sure that we're on the same page. You can see that scoring for 2 of the vendors, Jonas and Forties, was within 1 or 2 points of each other out of the 120 or so scores. So we decided to move forward with a second round of presentations from these 2 vendors. We were all, I think, impressed by both vendors when they came in a second time. And I think as I go through the pros and cons of each, it's pretty clear that both of these vendors would do a great job for the HOA, much better than what we've got now. But it's about making sure that we get the right product for the HOA. But both, no matter who we chose, would be a good fit. So I'm just going to quickly run through the pros and cons that I put in the document. So Jonas is a club management system, and they added golf. Okay, Forties was a golf system, and they reverse engineered and added in club management. And both are, as I say, are pretty good in what they do. But obviously, Jonas is stronger on club management, and Forties is a little bit stronger on golf as they move their packages inwards, if you like. On golf, Forties was very strong, Jonas less so, as I said. Many golf clubs in the past have implemented a combination of both Jonas and Forties. So in the early days of Jonas, when their golf product was really good, a lot of golf clubs implemented Jonas for the club management side, for the POS and food ordering, etc. And then they added Forties for golf. Now that Forties are moving towards Jonas for club management, a lot of those clubs now are taking out Jonas and just replacing it with one product, Forties. Or clubs that have got Jonas are now adopting the golf product. Forties has integration with Golf Genius. So Golf Genius is the product we use in the golf club for managing golf events. What that means is that if we have a golf event, for example, residents can go and book the golf event in Forties, and when it comes time, and they pay for it at that point, so there's no queuing up in the golf shop to pay for an event. When it comes time to run the event, the tee sheet is then sent into Golf Genius and automatically produced. Not automatically, but at the configuration point. Jonas does not have an integration with Golf Genius. Both systems have a really good smartphone app, so if you're a resident, you can do food ordering. So You can imagine that, you're sitting down by the pool here and you want to order some food or a drink. If we decide this is the way we want to go, you can get your app out and you can order on your app. You can see the state of your plaza balance, so the $75 that people pay towards their monthly fee in the plaza. You can see your balance and what you've spent that month up until the night before on both products. Okay, detailed to what you actually bought. Great facility from both of them. Jonas takes a membership feed from the FSR system. So FSR, when people buy houses or sell houses, FSR will update their system with the new residents, and that will automatically flow into Jonas. 40s, that doesn't happen. It has to be a manual update of the 40s system, which is what they're doing now with Easy Links. FSR have now got a strategic partnership with Jonas, and they see it as a future enterprise system for them. So they have on their radar the ability to be able to integrate the financials back into from Jonas back into the FSR system. That doesn't, at the moment, there's no option to do that from 14s. FSR also have a dedicated team for Jonas, at least one person who's full-time on this and probably other people who would be available to help with any implementation. 40s require us to use their credit card processing system, whereas Jonas, we would use our current credit card processing system. We've asked to see the fee structure for this. We haven't yet received it. 40s has a survey system as a module on the app and on the website. So if we want to do surveys of residents, we have the ability to do that. And finally, 40s have built their general ledger system inside of Salesforce. Salesforce is a very flexible product. I have past experience of that, so I can speak on that subject. Jonas does have a good reporting system. It has stock financial reports and the ability to deploy and enhance reporting. So on that side of things, not much different. So in summary, FSR takes their detailed financial information and keys it into the system currently for month-end financials. This would continue currently for no matter which system we purchased. The benefit of Jonas is that there would be financial integration in the future. Okay. And the conversations I had, that will be scheduled for later this year. The alternative, as we do now, is to take the financials and manually key them into the FSR system. Currently, that's done on a transaction basis. In my view is that we would probably want to think about, is that the best way to do it? If you've got the transactions sitting in either Jonas and 40s, why not have the summary financials in the FSR system? That would make month end a lot smoother. If I was going around the group who looked at the products, and I'm not speaking for anyone here, this is my observations, I would think probably 90% of the FSR people involved would probably pick Jonas because they've got a history with Jonas and they're invested in that already. That doesn't mean they won't support whatever product we want, but that's my interpretation. From a resident point of view, I thought initially the vote would be split from the resident side. However, late last week, the residents group met to go through, and it was a unanimous decision that the group would recommend that we implement 4Ts as the solution for our community. The reason for that is let me tell you what we'd lose out on. We would lose out on the integration with the FSR system for new residents and residents who are leaving. What we do get is integration with Golf Genius and one or two other systems, including Yellow Dog ordering system, and Jonas do that as well. We do feel that this community is, although it's a lifestyle community, the biggest lifestyle part of this and the system that we use is in golf. And we felt that that would be the best solution for our community. As I said earlier, I think this was I wouldn't say it was a flip of a coin, but it was a very close. There wasn't one outstanding supplier, but we felt that that was the way that the should go. In terms of costs, there's a summarised cost for each of the three vendors. So we're currently paying $10,285, something like that, per year for Easy Suites. The annual fee for 4Ts with their, I'll call it their basic website, and I don't think we need any more than the basic website, having looked at what they've got, is $15,000 a year. There would be an annual setup fee of $10,000 per year. There is an option in there to go to a higher grade website, which is an additional $3,000. I don't think we should, at this point in time, do that. Jonas' cost is $42,000 a year, and their setup fee was $37,995. Jonas did include a lot more hours of training in their proposal, and I think one of the things we want to look at, if the board approved 4Ts, is to looking at in more training with 4Ts. Their training was by Zoom, and that's the way they typically do their training. They will do all the setup for us, as would Jonas, but Jonas included 127 hours of training, and I think we need to probably increase the amount that we would want for 4Ts. And I don't know what the amount is at this point in time, but we probably should think of that. Club, just as an aside, Club Essential, who were the third vendor, they came in at $41,808 for an annual fee, and a total for setup of $33,000. Not included in here at the moment are any hardware costs that we might need. So at this point in time, we don't have an answer to that. The maximum would be is around about $40,000 for hardware. That is if we were to replace all the hardware that we currently have. I believe it's probably going to be half of that amount. If I'm looking at it from what we currently have, I think we're looking at a hardware cost of $20,000. Hardware is capitalised over the life of the hardware, so that's 5 years, I believe. So that would be a $4,000 cost per year in terms of not cash, obviously, but in terms of
Expense.
cost. Yeah.
I have a question. Does that include handhelds
Yes.
for people at the pool here, the cart girl?
Yeah. So the idea behind this is not to implement the processes we have. Okay. I think it's an ideal time to be able to, no matter what system we get, because actually the Easy Links could have been better implemented, and I'm sure we could have done better with Easy Links, but the objective now is to do something better. So, for example, all of the point of sale, instead of paper and pen when somebody comes to your table, they can use the handhelds. There's no reason at all why you can't, if you wanted to, you can't come into the restaurant, get the QR code and order on your own smartphone, rather than having to wait for service. Okay. If you're on the golf course, you can order from the cart, beverage cart, and it's done all online. You can pay with your credit card there and then. Also, and finally, I think it's a good time to really look at the processes. For example, the $75 a month, where now we know that, for example, FSR is spending a lot of time reconciling this at the end of the month. People's cards are getting declined. So why not, for example, add gratuities and tips onto the amount, make it $100 a month, which includes your gratuities and tax. If it's over that on the day you purchase, swipe a credit card at that point, so we don't have any bills at the end of the month. These are just some suggestions, and it needs a bit of thought on that. But there's no way we should be implementing current processes. So,
Peter?
Yeah.
I've got a few questions, and first off, I want to thank you and the team that's done this very good, comprehensive, and a lot of effort has gone into it, I know. Just when you're doing your financial side of things, don't forget, and I looked it up today, that with Easy Suites or Easy Link, whatever they call themselves, we give away 12 tea times per week. And that's 12 times 4 at $50. That's a low ball of a green fee. That's a total of almost $125,000 a year of foregone revenue.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, assuming we can sell those tea
Public.
times
right.
Yeah.
to the public.
I think even if we sell half of them, you sell half of them, it's still a $60,000
Well,
increase.
And $50 is low. So all I'm saying, you could figure out whatever you want for assumptions. Don't underestimate how much foregone revenue we have with the current arrangements that we conservatively could, factor into the business case.
Yeah, good point, Aaron. Thank you.
A couple of questions though. So I guess, sorry, Christina, this is more from your for first service. Do we get somebody that's on their system side that will help us with data mapping and da? Or is there an extra charge to have someone from first service that we need to factor into the business case so that we can get this thing done smoothly? And I don't need to
No.
put you on the spot, but it's a question I have.
I'll confirm, but I can't imagine that there would be any additional charge.
Okay.
For setup.
It's mainly a liaison point, Marilyn, whichever supply we take, they will set the system up for us in conjunction with our management company. So it's a case of, making sure that apples are apples, oranges are
Right.
oranges.
I mean, our big issue that Easy Suites probably wasn't configured properly from the get-go.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
so question for Stephanie then. The HOA side is low on 4Ts and it's better on Jonas. What is the impact on the workload for the HOA? I get the food and beverage and I get the golf, so they're not really commenting on HOA.
Yeah, I mean, it really just has to do with the end of month reporting. Currently with Easy Suites, the reporting is not correct. So it's causing a lot of manual labor at the end of the month to get the reports correct. I have no doubt that the reports that will come from Jonas and the reports that will come from Forties will be correct. However, there is, in the near future where Jonas will be integrated with First Service's accounting system where we won't have to actually run reports at the end of the month. Everything will just automatically from Jonas go into our accounting systems, which will alleviate any, operator error, and things will just be a lot more streamlined. If we moved forward with 4Ts, we would basically be doing the same of what we're currently doing with having to run all the manual reports, send them to our corporate office where everything is manually keyed in by our accounting department.
Can I ask a question on that? And Peter, maybe for you, couldn't we develop a simple API to pull the data from Salesforce to link into Force?
I'm sure that can be
rather
done.
than rekeying?
I'm sure that we could.
Because I do this in my same Salesforce.
It's something we haven't investigated, but there's no reason why, you can do it for Jonas, you can do it for Salesforce. Salesforce is a product you could just send out initially send out a data dump in a format that can be accepted by 4Ts. Yeah. It doesn't have to be an API necessarily to start with. So yes, it's going to take some work. It's not as easy as that.
Right.
You could replicate what you do. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so
You have to spend time on the front end.
Yeah.
And then it's a one time instead of every month. And what are we going to do now?
I mean, obviously what we want to try and do is whatever we implement, we want to make it, we've got to, first of all, think of the residents and their experience on this, but also we need to think of how can we help the management company to shorten the time for financials at the end of the month so that the board have their data and timely, which doesn't necessarily happen. And so there's one thing I missed on here is that 4Ts does integrate with all of the wholesale golf suppliers. So that allows them to be able to sell tee times directly from 4Ts.
Whereas Jonas
does not.
Has anybody went out and talked to the clubs that are using Jonas or 4Ts
So
to get their experience from it?
So yes, we talked to some clubs on an ad hoc basis. The one thing we have to do pending the board decision today is to go out to the reference sites.
Okay.
And we held that off until after today.
Marilyn, you had some more questions.
No, I just think, pricing seems to be pretty good with 4Ts and and the flexibility. My concern is obviously the back end, the accounting and the HOA, but if First Service is satisfied that they can support it regardless, then, I think it's a great decision and we carry on. And I'm open to changing that $75 to some kind of minimum, whether it's, every 6 months or an annual thing or something. But just when we deal with that minimum, I just encourage people to remember the people that are the snowbirds and otherwise that aren't permanent residents all the time, that we need to at least still consider an annual versus monthly thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the good thing about it is both of these systems will accept, so the minimum is classed as a credit book in both systems. That's the way to talk about it. We have credit books at the golf course for, you win a competition, you get $5 in your credit book. These systems have multiple credit books, so you could, obviously you don't want to have a lot of credit books, but for example, I could go on and see what I've got in credit in the golf shop that I can buy, from my winnings, my $5 a week winnings that I sometimes get. I can go and see what I've got there. And so we could introduce different credit books, so you can still stay with the annual amount. You can have the monthly amount. You can increase it to include the golf course as well, so you could spend your money in both the golf grill and the plaza if you wanted to. So there's lots of things. I think that's a separate discussion, Marilyn. We'd introduce as we start implementing.
Yep.
I have a question.
Can I just ask, who is caller number 8? Can you identify yourself, please? Caller number 8.
I'm not sure. This is for Rhonda Hall, 1369 Olympic Club Boulevard. I'm on the call. All I can see. I'm not sure what you're looking at, but
That is what I'm looking for. Thank you very much for identifying yourself.
Neil, just
thank you. I tried to log in. I tried to log in from the website, but it kept saying the page is unavailable. Is anyone else having that issue, or is it only me?
We did have a couple of people have that issue, but we managed to get
copy the link and paste it. I think it works.
Yeah.
If you just click the link, it doesn't work, but if you copy and paste it
and paste it into your browser, then it'll work.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for identifying.
Comments online is Robin has commented thanking the board for the work on the construction defect attorney, as well as thanking Peter and his committee for the efforts on the POS.
Okay, Peter had a couple of questions around the pricing. 40 seems significantly cheaper than the rest. Obviously, we'll wait to get the contract. I'd like to see a draft contract because, things like, is Yellow Dog included?
It's not. It's not included. That would be, for both systems, that would be an increase. So yes, Alan and I had a bit of conversation by email back and forth last night. So yes, we need to make sure that we get the Yellow Dog price. We need to make sure there's no hidden costs in there. When we secure the contract, we do need to add some more hours in for training, even if we don't use them. I think we need to put them into a project budget. And from what I understand, Alan, I think anything that's pre-implementation, as in a project, can be capitalized as well. So we shouldn't skimp on training. That's what I'm saying.
No, absolutely not.
I think that we're going to have, let's just call it a lowball figure, $100,000 a year that we're going to save by not using Easy Links. As far as those tee times, I don't think it's going to be an issue to fill those tee times, especially 8 months a year, maybe in the summer. But, if we have 27,000 here, is what I'm looking at, that's a lot of training. We need to make sure we have the right amount of training up front, on the front side, to be able to get this right. Not just, let's save $10 here, let's save $100 here. Let's get it right.
And documentation, Pat, and the documentation.
Documentation and the hardware costs as well. Max 40,000, could be less, but we have to build that in.
Personally, I think that, I know you're starting on the budget already, Alan, but let's not, like last year when I negotiated $300,000 savings in the landscaping, John got word of that and he whacked it right away. I wish I would have negotiated that a week after the budget was done. But let's leave some wiggle room in there, knowing in the back of our head we're going to save at least $100,000, or gain $100,000 in revenue, but not put it somewhere else, I guess, right away.
So I guess, Peter, timeline-wise, what do you want the board to do at this? Is this just for information purposes for us at this stage?
Yes, so I was hoping to have the contracts by now, but the contact is on vacation.
Right.
So I'm hoping I'll get them early next week. Once we get the contracts, I will have a call with them and I'll go through the contract myself. I'll talk to them about additional training. We'll look at hardware in a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
We'll look at yellow dog costs and we'll come back with a proposal to the board. And I assume that we could do it by email to be ratified at the next.
Well, the next board meeting's July the 10th.
July 10th. Okay.
So it might be that with all the work you need to do and also talking to other clubs, officially talking to other clubs, that might be the date.
We should aim for that to get this signed up. I think, you guys with the meeting with the residents, you heard that everyone was for tees. So,
and I guess if we approve it on July the 10th, is an implementation date of January 1st
yes.
a realistic?
I know January 1st is not necessarily the ideal time because it's the busy time for golf. It's when all the snowbirds are here. However, if you look from other points of view, it's the beginning of the fiscal year. Yeah. It's the end of the rollover of any $75 or the annual.
Yeah.
It's the ideal time to do it. And what you could do, and I'm not getting ahead of ourselves, you could actually just have some really reduced hours for Plaza and Golf Club that following week, following New Year, so that we can implement this properly that first week, and there's not a stress on staff to. Because most people,
parallel running or anything then, Peter? I don't know. I'm kind of old fashioned. I don't guess you don't do that anymore.
No, you don't. You do a straight cut over. So one day you're writing, the servers are writing handheld on pen and paper. The next day they're walking out to the table with the handheld. So that's it. Having a smaller service those first few days will really help us out, I think.
So Peter, at this point, is it helpful for us to notionally agree on 4 Ts such that your business case is really the next 2 weeks is spent not still doing the compare, but just focusing in on fine tuning what 4 Ts is, and therefore saving extra time on not worrying about Jonas? Is that helpful?
That's what I would, that's what I was hoping people wouldn't have any requirements for us to do any more investigative work.
Do you want to motion that, Marilyn, so we've got it formally in the record?
Yeah. So moved.
Have a
to
second.
Go with 4 Ts, this is adequate analysis of the different options and, subject to a contract. Let's proceed.
I would say 4 Ts as the preferred supplier at this point. That's what I would put it, Marilyn. One more question. Have we looked at going to a once a month payment, everything? Because like my credit card gets dinged every single time I go to the golf club, whether it's a beer, a soda, or drinks, or
Yeah, but
anything.
the Plaza is on monthly billing. That's kind of what is causing a lot of issues.
So you're talking incorporating the grill into the.
Everything.
Yeah.
So when I was a member of TPC Michigan, I got one statement at the month, whether it was $7 or $7,000, I paid that by the 10th of the next month or wherever it was.
That's what we do now for the Plaza.
Right, and that's a lot better. I mean,
except that we get a lot of the credit cards rejected. Every month we're getting a significant number of credit cards rejected
at the Plaza.
Yeah. I think that's why getting it done at the time.
It's a lot easier for everyone.
I think it's as we get into the project, that would be a meeting on its own to discuss the options.
You gotta look at the process.
There's so many options.
Yep.
You've got so many options.
Is there a reason why it just doesn't get charged right then and there, like you're at a normal restaurant?
At the Plaza, because of the way the Plaza monthly statement is set up, that's why it happens that way, versus the golf grill where it's straight away charge you.
Would we change that with the new system, or would we keep it the
That's
same?
what we're
Either way, right?
That's it. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
That's fine. We can table that. I just wonder, it just seems like everybody involved eventually would be easier.
But a lot of country clubs just do monthly billing, as Pat says, like for everything, whether it's my green fees and everything else.
Yeah, certainly an option.
And there's an option for an account top up as well. Of course, we wanted to not have the cash flow from the association. You could, for example, have a $200 minimum on your account. And when it gets down to a certain amount,
Automatic charges.
so there's lots of things you could do.
It's like getting a credit card when you were 18. You don't get it for cost of $400. Well, here's the thing too. I can't remember, because it's been a while since I was a member there, but it wasn't linked to a credit card. You paid it. It was just like getting a regular bill, and then you just got suspended if it wasn't paid by a certain date.
Yeah.
So I get what you guys are saying about the credit cards getting declined. You know, I think either way, those are the deadbeats that are not going to pay either way. You know, so again, we talk about it.
Yeah, it's about getting the best that works for both residents and management company to streamline processes.
Okay, Marilyn, do you want to amend your motion to being a preferred, for Peter to move forward with Forties as a preferred supplier pending, it's the full process, proposal and contracts?
So moved.
All those, any questions from the audience?
The only thing I'm going to say is thank you so much to Peter and his group. I know Alan and Neil had a lot of input in this. This is exactly how we did this. We went through the process with United Land, coming off of Down to Earth. I think this is the second time.
And to the FSR team.
Yeah, the FSR team, I'm sorry. And we keep doing things this way, and we're going to keep getting the United Land service down the road, with bigger contracts.
Totally agree.
We can't lose sight of the importance of the front end due diligence. So again, thank
Peter,
you.
I usually have lots of questions, and your material that you sent out in advance was very comprehensive and very well laid out. So I only had a few, so it was great. And I wasn't involved with any of the discussions, so I was starting with no bias whatsoever. So thank you for that.
Okay, so all those in favour? Aye. Aye. Motion carried.
Aye.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, then the last item on the agenda for the open meeting is the appointment of Brick Sterner as a member of the Art Committee. So can I have a motion to fill this? Yeah, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any questions around Brick?
Nope.
No? All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Okay, so unless there's any other questions, I will ask for a motion to adjourn the open meeting.
So moved.
Okay, a second. Okay, Pat and Marilyn. Okay, so adjourned at 11:50.
Thanks very much, Peter.
All right, thanks.
Peter L.
Marilyn.
Peter L.
Welcome. Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, close it down.
I know I've got a couple of emails I'm still have to answer to you. One that I can't remember what one was about. I thought I saw the other day.
You want me to call back?
On
On the close link, yes.
Yeah, asked for some.
Is there a closed link?
Probably. I don't know.